Hey guys! So, some people reach me out and ask how I made that silly animation with Amond and Vagar. So, I decided to make a video explaining all the steps. I used one of my fan arts that I made in Photoshop, and I'm also using Moho Pro 14 for an actual animation. And yeah, if you want to follow along, feel free to download my PSD file. It's free and you can find the link in the description. So let's start. So this is my Photoshop file, and as you can see, I separated everything, all the elements of the image, into separate folders, and I assigned them correct names, so I'm not getting confused when I import everything in Moho. So let me quickly show you all the layers I have. Basically, I have a background, I have dragon, I have Amond, I have... Oh yeah, so this one I created 3 versions of basically the same image because I want to animate it as a little GIF, like not GIF, but it's just going to be like looking wobbly, and sometimes people create animations like that for their YouTube videos. And yeah, the other thing I want to mention is the hand of Amond. I had to place it in a folder with a Vagar, and the reason for that is because when I move Dragon's head, I want Amond's hand follow it. So, and the same I want to do with this little bubble speech. I'm placing it into Amond folder because when I move Amond, I want the bubble speech following him just as well. And let me show you quickly what I did for the hand. I created 4 layers and I moved finger a little bit. So I'll show you how it works in Moho very soon. But the idea is that it's a folder that I can use as a switch layer, and I can just switch between those 3 very quickly. And the same I did for Dragon Eye, as you can see. And the last thing what I want to do is crop everything. Remember to do it with your files, because otherwise you'll see like bits of from edges of different layers after you import it from Photoshop to Moho. And yeah, let's import it to Moho now. So I've just opened Moho, and you see it always loads some default file of some random animation, and what you need to do, you just go File and create a new one. So let's set it up for our animation. I think the first thing we can do, we go File, and then Import, General Import, and yeah, let's just choose our file and select individually for all the layers. So that looks good. For navigation, I'm using mouse middle button scroll to zoom in and zoom out, and just like in any drawing software, you use space to move it around. So the first problem we have, it's different size from our default animation canvas. So let's go File and Project Settings. And here we can set up the size for our canvas, which won't affect the actual image size. So we can set it up to 3K and click OK. And as you can see, my actual image is larger than that. So let's just make sure we are in frame 0. When you are on a frame 0, you set everything up, like the sizes, bones, etc. And if you are on any other frames, then technically you start creating animations by moving things around. So if you drag one of the corner toward middle while holding Alt or Option buttons, then you can resize it. And as you can see, I also left a bit of space around the canvas. Let's start with switch layers. So sometimes when you import your file from Photoshop, it automatically can detect that switch layers like it happened here with the dragon eye. And if you don't see the window with that preview, you go to Window, Switch Selection, like that. So while you have the right folder selected on the right, you can scroll through all the layers in folder, and you'll see that you'll get them immediately updated on the preview too. And now we can convert the folder with hand into switch layers. So right mouse button and say convert to switch. Sometimes Moho detect that sort of switch folders on its own, but most of the time you just need to do it manually. And here is in the folders that I need to create a switch folder. So yeah, everything looks good now, and let's create some bonds. Okay, so let's start with Veigar head. Just make sure you are on frame 0 and select the folder and right mouse button, convert to bond. Cool, so now we can create bonds. You can select add bond tool on the left. One left mouse button click to create one single bond like that. Then click and drag to create a longer one. And while the longer bond is selected, you can create another one by just clicking here. So now I have 3 bonds, and all of them are connected to each other because every time I create a new bond, I had previous one selected. And the reason I want to have 2 bonds is because the long bond will allow me to rotate the head, while the small bond will allow me to move it easily. And the little one, I'm going to attach it to hand, so I can also move hand position a little bit. So that's the thing I need to do, is to select the small bond and then use bond strength tool just to make sure it won't affect any other layers. So if you click and drag, it will reduce the strength to 0, like that. Now I want to connect it to hand folder only, so I need to select the hand folder now for that, and choose another tool, bind layer tool from the left. And while we have the right folder selected, we can bind it with just the one bond. You just need to click on the bond and you see it get highlighted. And now I'm going to check if it works okay, so I'll go to frame 12 for now. It could be any frame, just not frame 0. So let's select the dragon folder and manipulate bond tool from the left and click and drag. Yep, that works. Okay, and now we can check the other bond. If we click and drag, yeah, rotation works just as well. And to check the third bond, we actually need to switch tool. So on our tool panel, we can choose transform bond and click and drag, and yeah, we can move hand around. That's great. And now to erase the animation we just created, you just click and drag, select all the frames and hit the backspace and go back to frame 0. So now I'm going to try to set up this per animation. First of all, I'll move it a little bit with layer transform tool. Just make sure you're on frame 0 when you do that. And now we need to create an action, and it's not as scary as it sounds. So if you go to action window, make sure you have per folder selected and you're on frame 0. Then click create a new action, and let's call it per. Click OK, and now we are in this action view. You can see it because it's all red. So basically what you can do, you can just create 5-frame animation based on on a switch folder and make it repeated. So when you exit the action, you can still have the same like repeated animation. So what I'm doing now, I'm just moving the slider on a switch window preview and moving through the frames. Each time I'm on new frame and I move a slider from the preview of switch folder, I create animation for that frame. And now if I click right mouse button on the last frame, I can cycle it. And now I have these 5 frames I created playing on repeat. And I can exit that action by double click on the main line above it. And you see the color change, so now we are on our main animation. And now let's go to frame 1, select that per action, right mouse button click, insert reference. And now I'll check the animation, and yep, it works. And I have just realized I need to move the folder to the dragon folder whisper, because I want per follow dragon head. Let's do quick test. I go to frame 24, I select the dragon head, I move the head, and yep, as you can see, per follows it perfectly. That's great. So let's clean that animation I just created, because I don't need it, and we'll go back to frame 0. And now I'm going to set up bonds for Amon, so it's going to be simpler. I select Amon folder, convert to bonds, and now on the frame 0, I can create just 2 bonds, I think, because I don't want to move him too much. It will be like very subtle. So I click and drag to create one bond, and click and drag to create the second one. That's it. And let's do a quick check. If we move to any other frame and try to manipulate one, yeah, looks. Oh yeah, I just noticed the folder. The folder is supposed to be behind the dragon folder, so we'll need to fix that now. I'll remove that animation I just created, go back to frame 0, and I also want to make this animation longer, so I'll just add 96 frames here. And click and drag the folder to place it beneath the folder with the dragon. So remove the dragon. Yep, that looks right. So now I can create actual animation. I removed all the previous frames I created. Now I move to frame 12, choose manipulate bonds, and try to move the dragon head. Just make sure you have the dragon folder selected for that. Yep, that looks right. And now, as I want to create animations that I can repeat, I need to make sure that the dragon would move heads back to where it was before. I'm selecting the core bone I moved, and on frame 12 it automatically created frames, so I will select them, press Ctrl C to copy them, go to frame 60, Ctrl V to paste, so I don't want the dragon change position from that. And now I go back to the original frames, Command C to copy them, and somewhere closer to the end, Command V to pause them. And you can select and move them a little bit if you want. Cool, so let's check. Yeah, you see the dragon move heads and it stayed in the same position, and then it moved it back. Perfect. And now I want to add the movement for the dragon's head. So I want to place it somewhere here, and I go back to frame 12, select the second bone. Maybe, yeah, maybe a little bit earlier than 12. Manipulate bounce tool, and I can move it a little bit. Cool, that seems works. And on 12, on frame 12, it actually goes back to the rotation to the previous position, but that's okay, it actually works. So now what I want to do, I want drag and keep doing that movement and then going back. So I'm going to copy that frame, Command C, and place it here, Command V. So yeah, just make sure it's the same line. Looks alright. And I'll try to move them a little bit around to try to get slightly better result. Yeah, that looks better. And now I just need to repeat them in that space, so I can click Command C and Command V. And maybe place 2 more here. I think it looks alright. I mean, honestly, you can spend as much time as you want here just tweaking little things, but I'll keep it simple for purpose of this video. And now let's create animation for Amend. So if I select Amend folder, and here is our 2 buns. So I will try to find the position where Veigar is the closest to Amend. I think it's that frame. And I can select the top one and move him a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, looks good. And now I need to create the opposite of that. So when Veigar moves her head down, I need him to lean other direction, basically. So I'm copying and pasting the same frames I already created to make sure he stay at the same position. And now I can copy those 2 and paste them somewhere here. And now I just do the same what I did with Veigar head, where I just copied I just repeat the same frames and movement. And maybe 2 more frames somewhere here. And just like with Veigar, I want to make sure I can repeat this animation, so I will copy the first 2 frames and place them at the end, so I know that there won't be any sudden movements or anything. It will just smoothly, images will smoothly come back to the same position where he starts. Now I'm just checking it, and I think it looks good. I sort of like it. Now I want to add a bit of movement to the wind, so I select the foreground wind folder and choose transform layer 2. Then I would select any other frame, like, I don't know, frame 20 for example, and move it a little bit. And then select the first frame that was created, automatically copy it and paste it at the end. So now we have the same repeated animation where it moves a little bit and then it comes back to exactly the same position, which is great. It seems works well. And now I want to add an animation for Veigar's eye. So I'm going to select the folder, eyes folder, and just use the window, preview window for a switch layer, and scroll through animation and see where I want to change it. Like, for example, that frame, I want to change eye position like that. Each time you change the frame on the preview window, you just automatically get a keyframe created. So this is probably the easiest thing to do in Moho, and it works very well. I think the reason I started using Moho is because it can do a lot of cool things, but also it's reasonably simple. It has a quite neat user interface. You don't have millions options, you don't have millions hotkeys you need to remember. So at some point I just wanted to create simple animations like that, and I was looking at different animation software and just couldn't find the easy one I can learn quickly. And then I discovered Moho, and I just loved it from the first time I was using it. Okay, so I think I'm happy with Dragon's Eye, and the next thing I want to do is to move the hand a little bit. And to do that, make sure you select the folder with dragon, not the hand folder, because we need to move the bone assigned to the hand. So I'm using transform bone tool, and I just scroll through animation and see where I want to move it. And by default, the hand still follows dragon head movements because last bone is parented to the bigger bone, so it will follow the movements that bigger bone has. Okay, I think I'm happy with this one, and now I'm just going to use switch layers for the hand to add some variety to it. I'll select the hand folder again to get switch layers preview, and then do exactly the same what I did with the eye animation. Just scroll through animation and move a slider on a preview folder to create keyframes. So I created a sequence, and now I can just copy and paste it now anywhere I want, exactly the same way I did before. I click and drag to select, then Control C, Control C to copy, and Control V to paste. Okay, I think I'm more or less happy with this one. I'll try to keep it simple. And now let me show you that feature I absolutely love in Moho. You can create a warp sort of layer for deformation, any raster based layer. So make sure you are on a frame 0 and that you select actual layer, not just a folder. And go to draw and create mesh layer. As you can see, it automatically creates a deformer layers that you can use. But if you want to do something specific, like I want the dragon make sort of smiley face, then I'll need to add some custom points. So you can use, to do that, you can use add points tool. Make sure you're on the frame 0 and your warp layer selected. And you can just click and drag to add points like that and enter to finish and start a new set. The reason I want to have points around nose and around jaw and around an eye, because I don't want to distort them. I only want to distort mouth, so it's a good idea to create that sort of points to actually preserve this area from distortion. And now I'll add some points to the movement I want to do. So let's check if it works. Go to any random frame. And you can use transform points tool now when you are not on a frame 0. On any other frame, you can click and drag and you'll see immediately what happened into the layer. And now I just want to copy the first frames and place them at the end. So, because it's exactly what I did with all the previous parts of the animation, and now I have exactly the same position for all the points when it starts and when it ends, so I can just adjust points or create new points in the middle, and I know that when I play it on loop, it will match perfectly. I think I want to keep that smile for a little bit longer, so the easiest way to do it would be just to copy that middle frames to paste them here. And that's it. I think we did it. I'll just show you where you can switch the visibility for everything if you want. Sometimes it's easier to use warp layer if you only have dots, for example, to control and you don't see any lines. And also you can go file preview if you want to preview your animation. And to export your animation, you just go file, export, and export animation. And you can choose it to export as a video or as a GIF. Thank you for watching. I hope it was useful if you are a beginner and just want to start using Moho. There's plenty really good tutorials on YouTube, but you should definitely check out the official YouTube channel for Moho because they have a really good tutorials. I hope you liked this video and subscribe if you want to see more, and see you in my next video.